David, the novel that you wrote was titled Bucky effing Dent, and the name Reverse the Curse stays very true to Red Sox fandom. But what led to the movie title change? Was it just because of the curse word?
Yeah, I mean it was hard. You said effing. It really has to do with the effing algorithm, which is, if you type in various iterations of Bucky effing Dent, if you don't use the asterisk, there's a lot of ways that it gets lost on it, and if you search for it, you might get lost. And this is where movies live on more than they do in the theaters anymore. Obviously, this movie's coming out in the theater, but it'll have the rest of its life, in a search engine somewhere. And it was relayed to me that this is a difficult name for a search engine, aside from having a curse word, which would get it buried in certain places as well. So, I want people to see the movie. I love the original title, but I also would prefer that people see the movie. So hence the name change.
Yeah, and I hope people see the movie too. It's really touching. And Logan, I love your look in this film. You've got the big sideburns. I'm surprised you didn't keep the full look. What did you like most about that 1978 aesthetic? Because I know you were born then, but you were too young to really experience it memory-wise.
Um, Man, why'd you gotta date me? Um, so I mean, that was the allure. I think was part of the the look of Teddy, and not just we didn't just talk about you know how he looked. I mean, I think David certainly wrote him a certain way, and so we wanted to lean into um, trying to gain a little weight for him and change his silhouette. I don't think we really, I just started growing the beard out. I had already had a little, I had short hair. So, really you should ask David about the wig because I think that was the bane of our existence, especially in post in many
Yeah.
ways. But I remember being in David's apartment. We were shooting a 0 day. I mean, we hadn't even started production. We were just trying to get some shots around New York, and it was just we were looking at this big old beer, kind of like what you're wearing and what I'm wearing, and I think we had looked at John Lennon, an old John Lennon photo, that where he had these beautiful muttons, and we wanted to go after that feeling that was left over in the '60s. He's stuck in the '60s, Teddy. Even though we are in the '70s, and I do remember the hair hitting David's apartment floor when we just went straight down, and not in a good way, like in a way Teddy would have done it, and it was just so shocking. And then David was just like, I think I like it. And the rest was history. And so, then we got the wig on, and I think it really came together, and I really love that look, but I wouldn't say that it exists in my closet. So.
Yeah, it's great in the film. And Stephanie, you're playing a death specialist who helps these terminal patients kind of find peace, and a lot of heaviness would comes with that role. And there's this great moment in the film where you say, I don't help people live, I help people die." But we get to see a lot more to Mariana than just that side of her. What did you like most about just the film's approach to her as a character?
I liked her sort of pragmatic, but also weirdly joyful view about death and grief. I like the way David's talked a little bit about this, and I should let him just talk about it, but there were some lines that he ended up adding to scenes that to me really felt like who she is. David, you want to talk about that a little?
Well, yeah, I mean uh, there's like there's a super condensed rom-com in the center of this movie, which is between Marianna and Ted, and we don't have 90 minutes to kind of go through all the ways in which that rom-com works. So there's 3 or 4 scenes mostly when they're staking out, trying to find Marty's old girlfriend, where you have to believe that these people get one another, are interested in one another, and fall in love. And I had a weekend off after doing the first week, and I wasn't satisfied that those scenes were carrying enough weight in that way. And so I rewrote them. And one of the lines that I came up with was actually from my old X-Files days when I went to Quantico before we shot the pilot, or after we shot the pilot, one or the other. I went to Quantico and I asked this agent. I don't know if I told you this, Stephanie. This is where it comes from. I did, yeah. I asked this agent, what's the most important thing you tell a young FBI recruit or agent? And he said, well, we got people that die from gunshot wounds that aren't fatal, because you see a bullet hit you and you think I'm supposed to die now. And we tell them if you get shot, you don't have to die. And that really became kind of a rallying cry for not only the character, for Marianna's character, for Stephanie's character, but for the whole movie.
Yeah, there's a really great line near the end that calls to that. It's just beautiful. And David, your character Marty, we see him, like literally living and dying with the Red Sox performance here. And the song comes up with this hilarious idea to fake results, and there's the old men outside doing these fake rain and storms. How much fun was it just staging those scenes? Because they're really hilarious.
Well, it was fun to stage them, but also nerve-wracking because I only had those guys for a day and a half, one day and a half. And I had 4 scenes in the barbershop and that big scene, making it rain outside the house. So I was under the gun. And I also, it also needed to be realistic enough that it could fool Marty. I had to somehow make it believable enough that this guy would believe it without seeming like an idiot, So it helps that Ted gets me stoned, so that I might believe it. But it was really kind of stitching what was going on outside, which is funny and kind of a great image, but also somewhat unrealistic, and what was going on inside, which is very realistic and strange and heartfelt, but also you have to kind of stitch those two worlds together.